Top of the morning, lads and ladies. Support for the Off the Irish podcast is now brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels, and you no longer need the look of the Irish with the ladies. When I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes, so you can take a longer shave. The third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents with their advanced skin safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code IRISHPOD at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code IRISHPOD. Use the right tools and jobs to trim your pan potatoes. And welcome back. How's everyone getting on?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Awesome.
So today we're joined by Al Coronel. Al, how about you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Al Coronel. I'm an actor based in Los Angeles, California, and I am the face of DJ Armando Garcia in the new Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War video game.
So obviously this has been pretty big for you. I think this is your second interview today. So fair play. You're on the Dog podcast. Shout out the dog. What a guy.
Yes, for sure.
So what was it like doing the audition for Cold War? I'm assuming you didn't know it was for a Call of Duty game yet.
I did not know. You know, I went in for a voiceover audition, and it was one of the few times where most of the voiceover auditions are done from your home studio. I have a recording booth in my house, so I do most of my voiceover auditions from home. But this was one of those rare occasions where they called me into the studio. I went in person, and I worked with the casting director, a lovely lady by the name of Ivy Eisenberg. She had me audition, and I could tell that it was for a video game. I couldn't tell what video game, but I could tell that whatever audio was being used was going to be used for a video game. When I got done with the audition, as I was walking out, she came after me and she said, "Hey, are you going to be around next week?" And this was in December of last year, early December. I said, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm in town. I'm not going anywhere." She's like, "There's another project I'd like to bring you in for, and I'll call your agent and set it all up." I said, "No problem." So a week later, I get a notification from my agent that Ivy wanted me to come into her office. They sent me the material that I would be auditioning with. And it looked like it was for some kind of, military-like project. I get to her office, I come in, we start doing the scene, and it's a scene where this character cold-bloodedly executes a hostage. And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, by the way, this is for the next Call of Duty video game." I said, "What? Can you repeat that for me one more time?" And she said, "Yeah, it's for the next Call of Duty video game." I said, "Oh my God." And I'm a fan of the franchise. I've played all the Call of Duties leading up to this one. And I'm more of a campaign player when I play Call of Duty. I love the whole cinematic feel of knowing these characters' backstories, where they're coming from, what they're trying to accomplish, and seeing all the little vignettes in between missions, these little stories that are played out. And so I've always been a campaign player. Multiplayer, not so much. It's not my strength because, let's be honest, I get killed pretty fast. I get taken out pretty fast. I don't even realize what's going on. And then who killed me? What just happened? And then they ceremoniously replay what just happened, and you get to find out how you were killed and by whom. And then, of course, I played very little zombies in the previous versions of the game. So when I found out, I didn't know to what extent my involvement would be in the game, what character I would be playing. They were very, very tight-lipped, very clandestine about the project notes. And most of the stuff that I got was all, prefaced with a non-disclosure agreement. So I had to sign away all these, agreements that I would not be talking about it. I would not be posting on social media about it. And understandably so. And about a week later, I get contacted by Treyarch. They start telling me, give me all the notes of what I'm going to be doing, where I'm going to be going. And I show up on the first. What's that?
When is this? Like, is this 2019?
This was December of last year, of 2019. And so I went into the studio. They had their motion capture stage on one area, and I was like, wow, is that where I'm going to be? And then they pulled me into a different room where they had all these platforms and all these machines that look like time machines. And I was like, what's going on in here? And they said, well, we're going to be creating some of the characters for MP. I said, MP, what's that? Multiplayer. That's why you're here. I said, oh, I had no idea. So the motion capture stuff, like the stuff that they did with Reggie Watkins, that had been completed and done long before in Chicago. So they had flown out Bruce Thomas, Reggie Watkins, and all the other actors that were in the campaign to do all the motion capture was done in Chicago. My task, or their task with me, was to create the look for the character that would end up being DGI Mendo Garcia. I didn't even know what the character's name was. So I knew I was going to be an operator. I didn't know what the character's name was. I knew his backstory, that he was, originally from Cuba, had been a part of the Cuban military and Cuban revolutionary military, and that he was basically a psychopath assassin for hire. I said, okay, and that he was supposed to be very agile with knives. I said, good to know. So I took that information. They started dressing me up, and this was one of the first outfits that I think they dressed me up in, this one here that you're seeing. And they started handing me weapons, and they started making me go through maneuvers. Like if you were going to breach a house and you were going through the back door, how would you do it? And so I started going through that like I would have done in the military. And when they found a pose that they liked, they would have me freeze and hold it there. They'd take pictures. Then they had me on a rotary platform that they would then rotate a quarter degree each time. And then they'd take pictures and have me holding that pose the whole time until they did it 360 degrees. Then from there, they'd pull me into a room where they would scan my entire body, face from head to toe. And I would have to stand still, where they had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 80 cameras. They'd feed that information into a computer, which would then render a 3D image of my entire body, a computer image of my body. So we went through that for the first week. I think there were a total of maybe 12 to 14 different outfits that they put me in. And at one point, once they went through all the ideas, they allowed me to interject, and they allowed me to bring some of my experience into the game as well, which we'll get into with regards to some of the other experiences that I have that I was able to bring to the game.
Like salsa dancing?
Salsa dancing was one of them. Yeah. One of the outfits, it was funny because before I get into the salsa dancing, I'm also a martial artist. I've been a martial artist since I was about 12, 13 years old. And they had gone through all the poses, and one of the designers says, do you have any ideas, something you'd like to do? I said, yeah, my character's supposed to be a knife-wielding psycho, and I see you have a table over there full of knives and machetes and blades and swords. And they even had a ninja sword. And so I said, why don't you bring me the matching pair of knives there? And they said, well, those are real. I said, that's no problem. Go ahead and hand them to me. And they gave them to me, and I said, okay, you guys ready? They're like, yeah. So I started performing a kata, which is a martial arts demonstration utilizing the knives. And they went crazy. They started taking all kinds of pictures, and they ended up actually utilizing some of the poses of me with the knives in the actual video game. So when you select the different skins, there's an animated caricature of me yielding the knives. So they actually ended up using that in the game, which I thought was neat. And then the salsa dancing, same thing. They dressed me in this one particular outfit, which hasn't been released to the world yet, where there's a progression of this character. As with most of the characters in Call of Duty, they have a storyline and they have an arc, and they tried to develop the one for DJI Mendo Garcia in the game, where he went through several different hierarchies within the story of Call of Duty. So this one particular outfit, they had me, with a different outfit. And one of the designers goes, I hear you're a professional salsa dancer. I said, yeah, I was a professional salsa dancer. He goes, why don't you dance some salsa for us? I said, okay. And they had music playing. So I said, why don't you go ahead and play some salsa music? Started dancing, and they were taking pictures. They just let the shutters go on the cameras and took all sorts of photos of me dancing salsa. So it would be funny to see one of my finishing moves be him performing a little salsa number at the end of the kill. That would be awesome.
So what you're telling us is, if you want to get into a Call of Duty game, you better know how to salsa dance.
No, it's just something that it just happened to help. I've been fortunate that some of my life experiences I was able to utilize in the creation of this character, and I'm so thankful for that ability, for having had those abilities to bring to the game.
Well, I'm sure people have loved it so far. Yeah, the salsa dancing, very, very unique. So fair play for actually doing it when they got you to. I think
Right.
For me, I'd be pretty embarrassed. Like, I just get embarrassed about things. So.
Well, fortunately, I have a video journal that I was able and fortunate, and they were so kind enough to let me video journal and take photos of the whole process that was going on. Of course, I've only been able to release one portion of it, which is already, it's not giving away any Easter eggs, things that are still yet to be presented to the world. So when I'm ready and able to, I actually have a video of them taking pictures of me while I'm dancing salsa in the outfit.
Pretty cool.
So I'm excited to share that with the world when the opportunity permits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until then, and salsa dancing isn't something that everyone gets into. So how did you get into it?
It became it was a hobby that I picked up. I spent 8 years in the United States Marine Corps. When I graduated from high school, I went right into the military. And of course, you always got to try. It can't just be all about the military. For morale and welfare of everybody involved, they always recommend trying to find other things to pour your energies into when you're not in the middle of a mission or performing your everyday duties. And one of the things that I got involved with was salsa dancing. I had a friend of mine, being from Los Angeles, I had a friend of mine who called me and said, "Hey, are you going to be around this weekend?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be in LA." He said, "Well, I'm promoting this new salsa club. Why don't you come down and check it out? They're actually going to be giving a free salsa lesson an hour before the club opens." And I said, "Oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah, I'll come check it out." And I went, took the salsa lesson, then danced the rest of the night, and I was hooked. And I was going back every weekend. And then it got to the point where I was taking workshops and buying instructional dance videos, and then going to LA on Friday night, going out salsa dancing on Friday, taking workshops on Saturday, going salsa dancing Saturday night, taking workshops on Sunday. And it got to the point where I was finally asked to be a part of a dance company and started performing with the dance company and doing a little bit of travel. And then when I left the dance company, I partnered up with a well-known salsa dancer, and together we started traveling around the world teaching and performing, and developed a little bit of I guess you could say, a following in the salsa world, and people were recognizing me for the professional salsa dancing, and got to travel to Asia, to Europe. I spent some time, like I said, in Ireland and in Scotland. So I was, traveling the world, teaching and performing and experiencing the world that I never really did while I was in the military.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how things like this can bring you down those roads. Like, you got to visit all these amazing places because of, a traditional dance. It's
right.
It's pretty cool. And then, you did an acting role for Cold War, and well, now we're here. So,
yeah, all right.
Some things have negatives. There you go. So, going back to the time in the Marine Corps, obviously we're Irish. We barely even have the Defense Force. We've no idea how the American military works. Tell us a bit about it. Like, why did you want to get involved? How did you get involved?
I come from a military family. My father served in the United States Army during Vietnam and was in Vietnam. And then my oldest brother, I'm one of 15 siblings, by the way. So it's a fairly large sized family.
Whoa.
Our oldest brother joined the Navy, and he joined at the tail end of Vietnam. So he was also what we consider to be a Vietnam veteran. And then I followed next. And one of the things that I had when I was in high school, I had yet to really decide what career path I wanted to take. I just knew that growing up in the inner city, there was a lot of gang violence. There was a lot of kids that I grew up with that got involved with the wrong crowds and got themselves into a lot of trouble. And one of the things that kept me on the straight and narrow was being involved in athletics. You know, I played, you know, college American football here in the States, and I, you know, ran track and field, and I knew that that's where I wanted to pour my energies. And so when I got approached by a recruiter one day on the school campus, it was something that had interested me, and I thought, well, you know, it's something I think I would do fairly well, being athletic myself, and having had that military family, it was just like the next progression of, well, let's see where this takes me. Maybe it can help, you know, ground me a little bit and give me an idea of what I'd like to do with my life. And one of the things that I had aspired to do was to be a fighter pilot, but unfortunately, that was not to be the dream, because I'm colorblind, and I didn't know that until I joined the military. Because as you go in, you know, you take aptitude tests to see what kind of job you would qualify to do in the military. And then you have to go through a physical. And one of the things that I thought would hold me back from joining the military is I'm flat-footed. So I had always heard that if you're flat-footed, you can't join the military. There's no way. But that didn't seem to be a problem, and it didn't stop me from continuing on through, and they cleared me for that. And it never really posed a problem for me throughout my military service. But when I wanted to be a pilot, they had to retest my vision. And I had 2015 vision, which was better than 2020 at the time. My depth perception was fine, but when it came to looking at the colorful circles and trying to determine what the symbols or numbers were in the circles, I failed miserably. And that's when I became aware that I was colorblind to certain shades of green and red. And as a fighter pilot, you have to be able to see those colors, because a lot of times when you're landing in pitch black darkness, especially on an aircraft carrier. There are 3 colors you need to be able to tell what they are: white, red, and green. Red means you're on the very edge of the landing strip, and if you miss that, you could end up landing your jet in the ocean. Yeah. So they told me, yeah, you can't be a fighter pilot. And so then I knew that the military was only going to be a portion of my life, because had I become a fighter pilot, I would have probably made it a career to stay in the military. And when my 8 years was up, I decided to move on and try other things in life and other experiences. And the salsa dancing had already kind of overlapped with my military life. And I had already started being asked to be involved in certain TV projects and films. Even though I was still in the military, I was able to somehow work it out where I still was able to work on those things. And one of the things I worked on was a movie called Blow with Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz. And that kind of reignited the childhood dream of becoming an actor. Yeah.
Whoa. I know.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's a mouthful, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a hell of a story. Jesus. It's awesome.
People, you know, they may wonder why, like, when we have all these big guests on, and I talk about unique experiences, why my reaction is always, oh. Or, oh. But what do you expect? Like, that's a crazy ass story.
That's a genuinely like a Forrest Gump story.
You go into the
right. It's just one thing that has led me one way, and then another, and then another. Yeah. I mean, when I told my family, because when I left the military, I went back to school, got my degree in electrical engineering, and was working in communications, because that's what I had done in the military. And I had established myself working for communications down here in Orange County, California, and had done fairly well for myself. I was, you know, creating training manuals for technicians when high-speed internet access and telephone over internet or telephone over cable started becoming a reality. We were on the cutting edge of that stuff, and I developed a lot of the training materials that was being used at that time to train the technicians. So I was doing, you know, an engineer level type job and getting paid handsomely. And then when I broke the news to my family that I was leaving that career to pursue acting, they looked at me like I was crazy. They thought, what are you doing? Why? You already have a great career. You're doing well for yourself. Why are you going to do something that there's no guarantee? And they were right. There is no guarantee. And, you know, as with anybody's concern, you know, family's going to be the first to worry about you. And they were worried that this would be a mistake on my part to pursue this crazy career of acting. But I never looked back. I kept pushing forward, and I'm so thankful that I did. And now, you know, my family, they're some of my greatest supporters.
Well, you love to see it. But, you know, acting is full of uncertainty, and it's full of negatives too. You're going to be told no more than you're told yes. And you need to be
There's a lot more failure than there are successes, for sure. And one thing that I tell people, because I do get asked that question, hey, if I want to become an actor, what do I need to do? Well, first, you need to study. If you don't know anything about acting, you got to go to school, take classes. You got to become comfortable with being uncomfortable in given situations, because you will be presented with things that you may not have experienced in your personal life, but you have to be able to overcome that and be able to breathe reality and live real in those moments. So you have to be educated in that. And also you have to be willing to hear the word no, or to not hear the word no, because a lot of times we go and audition, we leave an audition and we don't hear anything. So that is like an unspoken no, because you didn't get it because ultimately you didn't hear back. So there are a lot more of those moments that we experience in acting, in our acting careers, than there are yeses. Any actor out there will tell you.
Yeah, we've had plenty tell us, don't do it.
Yeah, you know, if you're comfortable with failure and knowing that, you know, failure is just one step closer to success. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I suppose you have to find some positive way to think about it. Otherwise, it's going to eat you up.
Right.
And speaking of things that eat you up, have you had any roles that you've you've lost out on? I like big roles. I know. Sometimes I ask actors, like, what's the biggest role you've lost out on?
You know, it'd make you feel better. We had a guy on, and he was supposed to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He was like one of the last 8 people to be like auditioned for it, and he was in the room when Tom Holland came in and did a backflip, and they just like one guy walked out of the room, like it was a depressing day for him, but and like with another guy on, he was supposed to be Negan on The Walking Dead. Like it's a tough game.
I will vouch for the Negan, because I also auditioned for that.
Oh, really?
Whoa!
Wow.
I also auditioned for that. Didn't hear anything back, and it was very disappointing set of circumstances, because I was hoping that would happen.
I could see.
I guess one thing that I knew that I was on hold for, that I was actually on hold for a year and a half and didn't get, was the most interesting man in the world. There's a drink, I don't know if they have it in Ireland, there's a drink here in the United States it's a beer called Dos Equis. And they have this character, man, the previous actor had decided he was moving on to other things. And so they were looking for the new most interesting man in the world.
Like the meme.
Right. And it was that, you know, I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. It was that. I was on hold for that for a year and a half. And they kept telling my agent, yeah, he's still in the running. You know, he can't audition for anything drink related, alcohol related, because if he does, he'll be taken out of the running for this. And then they went with a different actor. I think he was from France. Unfortunately, it wasn't a successful campaign once they recast it and they moved on to other things. But yeah, I was on hold to be the most interesting man in the world for a year and a half. Well, that was one of those moments. But I believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. No wonder they didn't do well. They didn't hire the most interesting man in the world. I mean, like, are you serious?
That would have been a lot of fun.
In all fairness, you are a pretty interesting guy.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
Like you've done a couple weird things, like not picking your nose on camera. I'm talking about, like, you know, the different hobbies you've had, different jobs you've had, so on. You know?
Yeah, but you know what? I think for me that also lends itself to give me not so much an edge over somebody, but it definitely has helped me in the work that I've completed and been fortunate enough to work on. And it's allowed me to bring those experiences into my work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was wondering about that. With having actual military experience help you for the Garcia role?
It did, because when I got there, you know, there was no trying to think. When they handed me weapons and they handed me, you know, sidearms and automatic rifles, there was no discomfort with holding those in my hand. It was something that I had done in the military. It was, you know, there's a level of respect that I have for firearms, real or fake, that I think is always important. So when I was there and they were handing me weapons and they were telling me it's not a real weapon, or it is real, be careful, I already knew that regardless if it was real or not, that I had to respect that, not only for my safety, but for the safety of those around me, and respect for everyone's safety. So having that comfort with the weapons and being able to know that this is how I would hold it, this is how I would maneuver, this is, you know, how I would progress through a mission, that was just, it was like being right back in the military. And that I owe that to my military experience, being able to portray something like this.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it worked out for you. And
you and me both.
Well, there you go. Yeah, with firearms, it's such a weird thing, because I think it's only you guys, Mexico, and somewhere else are like after citizens entitled to have firearms, and then there's the rest of the world with nothing. Like, I've only ever shot shotguns for clay pigeon shooting, and besides that, or besides being like a landowner or a member of a gun club, there's no way you can get it in Ireland. So it's always fascinated me, like, people having like, okay, the thing that scares me is open carry. Like, if you see that in Ireland, you get the fuck out of there. That's terrifying. Like, no one ever
right. And there are some states in the United States that allow their citizens to open carry, or their citizens to carry concealed. I myself have a concealed permit to carry, but not in the state of California. State of California, or in the city of Los Angeles, you need to have special circumstances to be able to carry concealed. So, you know, there are other states that do allow it. And my wife and I both have permits to carry concealed, but we have that respect for the weapons, knowing that it's certainly not a toy, and there is a level of respect that everybody should have for it. I look at it as a privilege, and I think sometimes where the line's gray is when people have like an arsenal in their house for no apparent need. It's a little strange to me, but you know, you have people who have hobbies. Gun collecting can be a hobby. My sister has an extensive gun collection, and her husband are avid gun collectors. So I walk into their house, and my brother-in-law has a giant safe that he has an arsenal as well. So it's interesting to see everybody's take on it. I think as long as you respect it and you respect your fellow man, it shouldn't be as big a problem as it has become, you know, with, you know, school shootings and such that have happened here in the United States, unfortunately, with respect to gun ownership.
I remember I was watching a segment of a podcast. I think it was Joe Rogan. He was talking about gun safety and like having like 80 round mags and all this stuff like that. And he goes, they shouldn't be for sale. And if you have 80 people, you know, like if you have 80, if you need to kill 80 people, it's like maybe the gun isn't the problem. It's probably you that's the problem. You know,
right.
You know,
there've been some regulations, like before here you could buy a 15 round magazine for your pistol, and now I think there are no 15 round magazines that you can hold legally. And I think now they're down to 10 round magazines. So there have been some things to try and curb that. Sometimes you see people with these ridiculous modifications on these weapons where it's like, is that for sport? What is the reason behind that? So, you know, it's like I said, I myself,
cool,
what's that?
I said, if you have that at a shooting range, that's really cool. But if you have like that when you're going through like in your car or something, or going through in your bag or something, that's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's part of the Constitution that was built here and established centuries ago for the United States citizens, the right to bear arms, and a lot of people still hold very true that belief. I consider myself right down the middle with it. I think there should be some more regulations with how people can qualify to carry a permit to have a weapon. Yeah. I think there's some people out there that really should not have a weapon, because they've shown themselves to be a little bit, out there with respect to, militant with respect to owning a weapon, and some people that quite frankly can be very dangerous. And then you have those people who, like myself, I feel, very confident in owning a weapon and know that it would be used to protect my family, my loved ones, and my home.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, I don't know if you've ever heard is it the Kent State gun girl? This girl, she like graduated with like a semi-automatic from her like high school. She like wanted to prove that, open carry is fine, and she went up and graduated.
She carried it during her graduation ceremony? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's
what happened?
No, nothing happened. Like, she just wanted to prove that it's okay to have guns in school or something. I have no idea, but she graduated with a gun, which is
wow. That's.
I suppose she proved the point that it's not always bad, but in the
right.
In the
majority
of the time, it is.
There's two sides to it.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's a privilege to be able to own a firearm, but that we have just if we have one, it'll be just the one. I don't see the need to have a giant arsenal.
Yeah.
But
she graduated in 2018, and she became a social media personality, and guns are activist when for open carrying an AR-10 rifle at Kent State University after graduating. I remember that very well, because people were like shouting her, saying like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm just graduating with my gun." She's like, had it on her back like a school bag. So,
like, I suppose you could find the idea of someone holding a gun offensive. I don't know. I don't see it all that bad. No,
I was introduced to weapons at a very young age.
Yeah.
I never had that discomfort level. It wasn't something that was suddenly sprung on me. I had already, been used to firing a weapon. And then when I got into the military, it was like, oh, okay, just a different weapon. And I think in my military service, I had at one time 3 or 4 different service weapons that I carried on my person. So it was, when we were in combat, we would sleep with our weapons in our sleeping bags with us. So it became something that was an extension of yourself and a tool to be utilized when necessary.
Yeah. You're good parents. If they taught you that, like to teach you the responsibility of guns, it's pretty good. I have a pellet gun, and I was told never to aim it at anyone and like shoot birds in case like they were like we were tired of them nesting in trees or like above our house. So I was literally just told, just shoot the birds, Thomas, if they go near it. I didn't kill anything. Like.
well, growing up, my mom had a German boyfriend named Hans. That was his name, Hans. And he was an avid, hunter, sports hunter. And he introduced us to weapons at an early age, my brother and I, and took us many times to the shooting range. And so we became comfortable with it, and he had weapons everywhere. And so it was something that we were taught very early on to respect. Not a toy. It can really, create a lot of damage, and it can take a life in no time flat. So we learned to respect that. And I think it's a testament to the parenting that we had growing up, for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you gotta respect it, because otherwise it's gonna lead to a whole lot of harm. What was it? Now, when you were saying like you're against people having like these like gun rooms or so on, or gun collections, like I'd agree with you there for most people, but then again, I love watching stuff like Demolition Ranch or so on.
Right. No, I didn't say necessarily that I'm against it. It's just I think sometimes it's too easy. It seems to be too easy right now to acquire a weapon.
Yeah.
And I think there's some things that they can be done to help take the weapons out of the hands of those individuals who really have no business owning a weapon. There are a lot of people out there who are amazing and understand weapon safety, and my hat's off to them for continuing to do that and preach that and share that information. But yeah, there's times where you see people who end up with weapons who commit a crime that you wonder how in the world this person got the weapon. Sometimes by illegal means, but sometimes it might be somebody who went out and purchased a weapon that really, if they would have delved in deeper into this individual, they would have known not to sell this person a weapon. And I think that's the gray line right there that I speak of.
And if I told you that you had the job to do it, how would you go about it?
If I had the job to do what?
Like to ensure gun safety, to make sure.
I think it has to do with background checks.
Yeah.
And I think, like in the military, they do background checks on you before you join the military. You do some level of psychological evaluations of individuals. It seems more difficult to get a driver's license than it does to get a permit to purchase a weapon. And I think that's a little bit skewed and off.
Yeah.
But I think there could be some safeguards to ensure the safety of law-abiding citizens who know and own a weapon and are free to do so. I'm all for it, but I definitely think that there could be some kind of guidelines or regulations that could be put in place to determine someone's viability of does this person need to own a weapon, or is there something in their background that is a red flag to them not owning a weapon and should not own a weapon.
Do they currently not do any psychological evaluation if you want to?
Not that I'm aware of. You do have, a test that you take, which is about 30 questions long.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess that it's close enough. You could extend that to a certain degree.
Right. And you might have an individual, there's so many circumstances. You could have someone who, when they purchased the weapon, was safe and sound of mind and body, and something makes that person snap. You never know.
Yeah.
So even a driver behind the wheel of a car can turn that vehicle into a deadly weapon. So,
Very true.
it's an argument that there's been so many roundtable discussions about that. People on one side of the aisle saying weapons should only be carried by military and law enforcement. There's others that, believe in the constitutional right to bear arms. Mm-hmm. I believe I'm right down the middle, where I believe in the right to bear arms, but I think there could be some other safeguards that could be put in place to determine who should, who could, and who should not.
It's all about context for you.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
100%.
Like not a felon can't have a gun, so on.
It's so backwards to Ireland, because not even our I guess it's our police, but they don't even have guns. But then again, they're so disrespected in our country. Nobody.
Well, look at Japan. In Japan, my wife and I had this discussion. In Japan, you have to go through a stringent requirement to even purchase a rifle, and I think their statistics, when we're talking the hard numbers, the number of shootings involving private citizens in Asia, it is far different from the number of citizen-involved shootings and people who unfortunately meet their death at the other end of a weapon here in the United States is significantly different.
Yeah.
I don't know what the statistics are. You might, but is the US the highest country with the most gun deaths? I'm not sure of that at all.
I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is. I think that would be Latin America would probably lead that. Being Latino myself, I know of plenty of type of gun violence that goes on in Latin America is pretty prevalent.
It's Brazil.
It's Brazil, yeah.
Yeah, you have all the Latin American countries. If you put them all together, I'm sure the numbers would be staggering.
Mm.
It goes in order. Hold on. Let me get this.
Oh, you're looking it up? There you go.
Yeah.
I'm all about the statistical facts, yes.
Oh, yeah, we're saying here, facts
This is 2016, okay?
All right.
So it goes in 2016, it was Brazil with 43,200, followed by the United States with 37,200, Mexico 15,400, Venezuela 13,300, Colombia, Guatemala. They're much smaller though.
It's all Western
Now,
side, isn't it? That's
why I know about this, because my father is Colombian,
no.
my mother is from Guatemala, and I spent a good amount of time in both countries as a child. So I got to see firsthand, because the newspapers there are not censored like here in the United States. You'd have front page stories showing, some pretty gory results of gun violence, and it was something that I saw from a very, very, very early age. So that's how come I knew that. But yeah, if you like I said, if you group Latin America as a whole, the numbers are staggering.
You say your father's from Colombia.
Colombia.
Was he around the time of the drug wars?
No, because he came to the United States at a very, very young age and became a citizen of the U.S. and then served in the military here in the United States. So he was not in Colombia when all that cartel wars all started. And actually, I think it originated in Chile. And then if you follow the story or the history of the cocaine trade, started in Chile and worked its way into Colombia and then went up from there. But yeah, he was already here in the United States, so he missed that, thankfully.
Oh yeah,
because that was especially during the 80s in Colombia, it was a very dangerous time to be about.
No, yeah, it's amazing how people perceive Pablo Escobar, because still to this day people see him as a hero because he did so much for Colombia's community. But then you have people that see him as a monster because of all the stuff didn't he blow up a plane?
One of his right-hand assassin, a gentleman by nickname Popeye, was responsible for bringing down an airliner.
I've heard of Popeye.
Just to kill one person, they brought down an entire plane.
Pretty sure they didn't kill him on that as well, did they? He went off the plane.
What's that?
I'm pretty sure they didn't actually kill the man he was supposed to kill anyway. I think they had a informant or something, but I don't think he was actually on the plane or something.
Yeah, it's crazy all the stuff that happened. It's pretty intense, and I got to speak to some of the. I myself auditioned for a series called Narcos. I don't know if you.
I watched Narcos. I've watched Narcos. Yeah, it's
and that.
Fan.
Oh, is he? Well, I worked on the movie Logan. I worked with Boyd Holbrook, who was one of the leads in the first two seasons of Narcos, and they shot that in Colombia. And I said, well, I asked him, what was it like? He said it was great. They didn't see the violence of, had they tried to shoot that in the 80s or 90s, I think it would have been a lot more dangerous for them to shoot that or film that in Colombia back then. Look what happened with Narcos Mexico. When the series moved up to Mexico, they sent a location scout to go look up locations to film the series Narcos Mexico, and the local cartel members came up to him, approached them and said, what are you doing here? And I guess he tried to explain himself that he was there as a scout for a production, and they ended up finding him dead shortly thereafter. So, it's still very prevalent in parts of Mexico.
Yeah. I'm always curious how they, especially I watch a lot of, I used to watch a lot of documentaries about drugs and the entire drug production of moving it, making it, filming it and all that, and how they actually get permission from drug lords to film how they make it, and the next scene on they're filming with the police, and do they have to, I don't, it's very.
Yeah, that would be, there is a film department that anytime we go into another country that we the productions make sure that they've taken care of the contractual agreements to be able to utilize certain areas. But for example, I have a friend who was in the movie American Sniper that was directed by Clint Eastwood, and he said that and that was shot mostly in Morocco. He said that there were town leaders that when they went into a certain part of town, they had to first get the okay from the town leaders, or I think he may have referred to them as warlords for certain areas to get permission to go in and film. So I thought that was very interesting to hear that story. that, you know, it wasn't just getting the government involved, but also getting the okay from the powers that be within those communities to be allowed to film.
That's crazy. Remember we were talking to Andrew Drury. He was on I can't think of it now. He was on Dark Tourist. He was telling us a lot of stories about Syria and Iraq, and I can't remember what country it was, Jared. What country was he telling us about? With he dined with cannibals.
It would be so offensive if I get that wrong.
I can't remember it now.
Oh yeah, right.
But
you want to get that correct.
He was telling us about
it's a tribe in central, or in South Central Asia. Uncertain, but I think it's somewhere near the Indian subcontinent. I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
He was telling us they still like eat people and stuff like.
There's a certain. Oh no, it was India. There was
sure certain India,
certain tribes up there, or I guess over there, and what was it? What they didn't eat people. That they would have fights or whatever, and if they capture one of the other guys, they would say, "We're going to kill you, or you eat your dead friend," or something along those lines.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's right.
That is right. There was.
Let's see. If I had the choice to eat a human, who would it be? Nothing comes to mind.
No.
Yeah, it's not.
I was concerned you were going to give us an answer.
Not a clown because they taste funny.
You thought I would, huh?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Oh, a clown because it tastes funny. Nice. Just G, man. Yeah, that's a weird one. We're all happy where we are, like sitting at home around a fire, having a good old time, and then somewhere in the world there's some absolutely horrific shit going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got to see a few things in my military experience that it made me very, very thankful to have grown up where I grew up. But, also understanding that where we were, those people that were living in that, for them, that was everyday life. So for them, it was no big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were some things that I saw and witnessed where I was just like, wow, this is so third world for me. And it gave me appreciation for the privileges and things that I have had given to me throughout my life.
Gee, this podcast took a very dark turn.
It took like
I know, right? It really did. What happened?
We were talking about acting and 80 cameras.
It's kind of timely because Call of Duty, if you think of Call of Duty, Cold War, the reason it was called the Cold War was because there was no real face-to-face combat. It was more of a tug of war between superpowers, between the U.S. and Russia and, all the other powers that be. And, in that, a lot of innocents were caught up in that.
Yes.
So I think, it all ties in somehow to know a little knowledge. Once I found out what the game, the genre or the time, the era that the game was taking place, I had to brush up a little bit on my history, my world history with respect to Call of Duty and the Cold War, and what all that really meant, and how that has affected not just the United States and Russia, but affected other countries as collateral. I would maybe say collateral damage, and understand that, while other countries get stronger, the other countries that were that had the misfortune of being dealt some bitter hands as a result.
Yeah. And
so it all kind of ties in, not to be dark, but it all does tie in.
Yeah. What do you think about people saying that there's a bit of a Cold War going on at the moment between the United States and China?
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with them. There's not just China, but we're still having issues that with respect to cyber hacking, and it's taken a different turn because of the technological advances. It's a war fought over the the ones and zeros that make up our technological advances. You know, it's just crazy how it's a different type of war that's being fought.
Yeah. And isn't it mad, like, if there was to be a war, that it wouldn't be guns or your traditional war, it would be immediately nuked. Like,
right. It's, you know, we know what the end result could potentially be if it was a military conflict, that you know, that the circumstances could be quite dire. But, you know, it was interesting seeing all the trailers for the game, for Call of Duty, and seeing figures that were our leaders when I joined the military. When I joined the Marine Corps, Ronald Reagan was the president. Alexander Haig was, you know, I think he was a Secretary of State or Speaker of the House. He was involved. All these figures, the political figures that you're seeing in this Call of Duty, I was alive to see some of them and be around some of them and remember some of the circumstances involved with that. Although the Cold War actually started shortly after World War II, it still went on till, I believe, the early 90s. The Cold War was still going on. What's that?
Basically until the Soviet Union went away.
Right. You know, you're talking about the fall of the Berlin Wall, all that stuff. I was in the military and seeing all these historical events take place. Yeah. And so when I see how it's portrayed in this game, I'm just blown away by it. You know, they tried to make sure that to bring a little historical education to the gamers out there that are playing this game. Believe it or not, there's a lot of historical fact in there.
Yeah. Have you played the campaign yet? Because you said
I haven't.
You're a big campaign player.
Yeah, I'm a big campaign player, and I have the PS5 version of the game, but I don't have a PS5 console. And I could go and buy a PS4 version of the game, but I'm so like set on having a PS5 that I want to wait until I get my hands on one to play the game, and I'm missing out on a lot of the fun, unfortunately.
When you get the game, we'll definitely have to do like a live stream with us.
For sure.
That would be kind of cool.
That'd be awesome. We all play as Garcia or something. That'd be kind of fun.
That's what I was thinking. I wanted to do something like that where I get a team together and we all play as Garcia, so that when you have that opening scene in the hangar of the plane and everybody's avatar starts popping up, it'll be just a group of Garcias.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
or Mendos. Mendai.
We'll certainly do that. We'll certainly die. But that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, look, the game's been taking off something awful, and
it's great.
You know, it's not slowing down. So you know, hopefully there's some more stuff coming with your character.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, I my hat's off to Treyarch, to Activision, and to Raven, you know, for everything that they did to get this game out to the fans, because, you know, when I was working on the game, I think 2 or 3 weeks after I was done working on the game, we had the pandemic shutdown. So I was still in contact with the designers at Treyarch, and they were saying, yeah, we can't go into the office, so we're going to have to work from home. And they've completed this game working from home. So that must have been a massive undertaking to be able to complete this game, get it out to the masses. Yeah. And I know the original release date was supposed to be October, but then they pushed it back to November. And it worked out because it was around the same time that Xbox and PS and PlayStation were getting ready to release their new platform. So it worked out in the end, and they got it done from working from home.
Yeah, we were talking to Bruce and Reggie.
Yeah, I was going to say something about
and they both have like they had built-in they had home studios. And Bruce was telling us he'd have to go and apologize to his neighbors when he was recording for multiplayer because it was just screaming. And
right.
He made them cookies,
and I have the same situation. You know, I go into my recording booth and I might have to work from home and yelling military commands or screaming. You know, my neighbors must be thinking, what in the world is going on? It was a similar situation with Call of Duty, because I did have to do some stuff from home, but when I did lend my voice to the USSR and Cuban fighter pilots in the game. So when you call in a kill streak and you're calling in a Cuban or a Russian missile strike, you're going to hear my voice, although you know, with an accent. It's my voice in the game for the fighter pilots. So
I didn't realize
it was
that.
interesting to do some of that stuff from home.
I'm going to really notice that now whenever I play the game. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Damn.
Because it's not my voice. Mendo Garcia, I didn't voice Mendo
What do
Garcia.
you think that
was
is?
another actor that lent his voice to that. You know, I just was that guy.
I think we were talking to Reggie about that, weren't we? Because Reggie was talking about the, was it Mountain Dew ad? And that I think he said he might have texted you or something, saying like, oh, it was really cool being in the ad with you. And then I think you texted him back, yeah, that's not me. Or something like that. I can't remember what it was exactly.
He was just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, it's you know, I know the actor who voiced it, and he's a very talented actor, and he voiced that character in the game and also in that Mountain Dew ad. So I just have the privilege of it being my likeness.
And has it done a lot for your career? Like so far, has it given you some new opportunities and so on?
I think it's done more for my ego than it's done for my career, because you know, I have my nieces and nephews that are just ecstatic that their uncle is on the cover of the game and is one of the characters in the game. So you know,
cool.
just seeing my friends send me, you know, screenshots of them playing the game or their kids playing the game, for that has brought me such a huge amount of joy and laughter.
Awesome.
Well, man, you know, I'd be the same, to be honest. You know, if I found out like one of my uncles or whatever was in a COD game, I'd kind of be like, well, sit down now and tell me a story. Yeah.
You know, there's so many moving parts to this. Although I wasn't the voice for Mendo Garcia, just to be a face, a recognizable face on the game and in the game. I mean, that you know, that's a bucket list check box that I can check off my bucket list, to say that I'm involved in, you know, one of the characters in one of the biggest video game franchises I believe in history.
I think it's just full stop is what even like is in the same league as it? Like everyone buys the new Call of Duty. No one ever buys like the new blank.
I know, but I know that, you know, Fortnite took off.
But that's not like a franchise. That's just
we look at the timeline and the history. There's been so many. Call of Duty goes back quite a few years, even before Fortnite. So, you know, it's got a fan following unlike anything that I've seen.
Let me just tell you all that Fortnite no way compares to Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It has no comparable qualities or features at all.
It's a free game, so it's great for some kids who don't get games with their console in case like the parents couldn't afford it or so on.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. But
I think Fortnite are living off brand
people
deals right
pay
now.
like 60 or 70 euro, or dollars, whatever, to get this game, and that shows a lot more commitment than buying or getting a free game.
It is, yeah. So, but yeah, it's quite impressive, you know, for me to just, like I said, it's still every day I wake up. Last night my wife and I were watching TV, and on YouTube there were a couple of video clips of some of the new skins that they've released for my character, and my wife was looking at the TV going, "It's so crazy to think that that's you."
Yeah.
And I said, I know it is quite intense. Let me see if I can pull them up for you guys.
I think I might
have some of them.
They're awesome. They're awesome skins.
You know,
there's that one, and then that
was
one,
nice.
I think it's a take on Fight Club.
Mm.
If you look at Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt, there's a comparison photo of him in his outfit and my character. You can't see it in this picture, but they gave me a blonde hairdo, and then somebody said, "Hey, that's Tyler Durden from Fight Club," and I thought that was hilarious because they're dressed exactly alike. And then the new one, which I think they call it the Mechanic, is this one here. So just to see all the different outfits that they're giving my character is pretty fun too. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see. But they didn't dress you up like this, did they?
This outfit, I don't recall wearing this particular outfit, but you know, there's the one with the goggles. Definitely wore that one.
Yes,
that was one of the things that that was one of the things that I wore early on, and I think I might have pictures of that. Yeah, that's during the photo session, and that's me
cool.
in the goggles, and that character was the skin that they released in the season 1 promo for Call of Duty and Warzone. There were a couple of people that thought that was a new operator, but it's actually Garcia.
That's cool. That's awesome. Anyway, Al, I think we've taken up enough of your time. I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Well,
This has
Oh
been great.
man, it's been my pleasure.
I got one last question to take up his time.
Oh, go on.
I could not let this go without talking about Logan. What was that experience like? That was a big movie when it came out.
Oh yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, the two things that really stand out in my mind. I mean, I'm thankful for each and every opportunity, everything that I've had a chance to work on, and the amazing people I've been blessed to work alongside. But Call of Duty and Logan are two of the things that really stick out in my mind as like accomplishments in my career that I'm very thankful and feel blessed to have experienced. And Logan was one of them. When I auditioned for that, like Call of Duty, I didn't know what it was. It was very clandestine, very low key, very hush hush. There were non-disclosure agreements that had to be signed. I knew it was for, let me back up just a little bit. I was working on the TV show The Last Ship.
Yes.
Great job.
And on we're shooting, and just in between takes, one of the other actors who I'd made friends with sat down, and he had audition sides, which is basically a 2 or 3 pages of a script that you use to prepare for an audition. And I said, "Oh, what are you getting ready to audition for?" And he said, "This is for the next Wolverine movie." I said, "Really?" I said, "Get out of here." He's like, "Yeah, I go in and audition for it tomorrow." I said, "Oh man, I would give everything or anything to be able to audition for that project." Fast forward about a month or two, I get this notification to audition for this project, and it didn't say Wolverine, it wasn't Marvel, none of that was discussed or divulged to any of us. And so I get the sides and I'm reading it, and I see a lot of the notes on the side redacted, all blacked out. So they were being very secretive. And as I got to read it, I said, "God, this has got to be some kind of action hero thing going on here." And I get to the audition. I run into a bunch of actor friends of mine, which is a norm now. This community is very small, and you get to see the same people, and you make friends over time, and people that are very near and dear to me. And we were all there auditioning. I think it was like 7 of us, and we're all friends. So they went in, I went in. Casting seemed to really like what I did. So, and this again is where my military experience came in handy, because it was a commander of troops that was ordering them to charge into this building and find this person that we were looking for at all costs and take care of the mission. So I know that from my military experience, you don't really need to yell to get the point across. You're direct, and if you've done your job and you have the respect of your troops, they'll listen to what you say, and we'll get the mission done. We're all there to complete a mission. And I used that mentality when I went into the room, and casting seemed to like what I did. So afterwards, we all went to lunch together, all the other actors who had auditioned for this. We didn't know what it was. And we were sitting at lunch, and somebody said, "I think this is for the new Wolverine movie." And we were like, "I don't know. What do you think it's for?" And we said, "Well, whoever gets it, hopefully it's one of us." And that's my mentality. If I'm not going to get a role, I really hope it goes to somebody who I know, another friend, because I'm always cheering on my friends. And whenever I see my friends in a project, I'm always so happy to see their successes, and sure to send them a note and say, "Congratulations, good job." So, when I about a month later, I get a call from my agent saying, "You're in the running for this project." And she tells me the name, and I said, "But I don't remember auditioning for that." She said, "Oh, it was called this before." So they changed the name because they were being so secretive. They kept changing the name of the project to avoid any leaks taking place.
Yeah.
I said, "Great. Okay." She's like, "Producers like you. Now they're sending they're sending it to studio to get studio approval. And this means it goes to the studio, whoever, 20th Century Fox, to get the executives to look at it and to give their stamp of approval. So there's a lot that takes place here. And for a movie, it can be a few months before you know anything. Whereas TV, you audition for something, within a day or two if you've got it or not. But with a movie, it could be months, it could be a year, who knows? So I get the notice from my agent that I'm in the running. And then about another 3 weeks, a month later, I get the call from my agent saying, you got it. You booked this. And by the way, it's the new Wolverine movie. And the last one with Hugh Jackman.
Huge.
For me, that was like being that kid at Christmas who opens up their first Atari game console. And, that was me. I was up on my bed, jumping up and down like a kid. And then I started getting all the emails, and they started sending me all the information to my house for where I would be going, when I would be going. They flew me out to New Mexico, and I got to work for the next two and a half weeks with Hugh Jackman, Boyd Holbrook, Stephen Merchant, James Mangold, the director, who I'd been a fan of his work for many years. 3:10 to Yuma is one of my favorite films. So to be there and have a moment where James Mangold pulled me aside, he's like, Al, let's take a walk. Let's talk about what you're doing in this next scene. And we walked around, just he and I, for about half an hour talking about how this was going to happen. It was an out-of-body experience where I thought, I am feeling so blessed right now to be in this situation. And it was really an unbelievable set of circumstances to be there. I think hearing from the casting director, I think they had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3,000 submissions for the one role.
Jesus.
Out of the 3,000 submissions, they brought in to audition about 200 to 250 actors.
Wow.
So when I say that this industry is, the competition is going to be there always, and you just do your best that you can, and prepare yourself so that when those opportunities arise, you're undeniable. And I was, I'm sure any one of my friends and people that auditioned for it could have done the work just as well, if not better. And I'm just thankful that they chose me.
Well, I'm glad they did too.
Yeah.
Good Lord, at least you got a story to tell. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's impressive to know when these casting offices, when they put out one casting call for one role, the amount of submissions that they get is astonishing. And to have to sift through that to determine who you're going to bring in, and then to have to also go through all the audition tapes and decide who you're going to push forward to the next level. It's gotta be difficult as a casting director, and,
yes.
and my hat's off to them for the work that they do. The unsung heroes. I really think casting directors should be recognized, especially when it comes to the Academy Awards. Casting is a huge part of the process, and I wish casting directors were acknowledged in the Academy for their work. Logan was a prime example of that, and so many films that you see out there where casting can make or break your project. I think that's something that needs to be talked about.
100%. Give it to Bear. Same with who were we talking to the other day, Jared? They said that makeup artists, they don't get like half the respect that they deserve because who was it? It was Scott Deckard, right? Scott Deckard, was it you who said it?
I'm the one who said that, yeah.
I might have just quoted you verbatim there, but go on.
Yeah, you get costume designers that get nominated and win Academy Awards, and you have cinematographers, but casting is a big part of the process, and casting the wrong individual could make or break your project.
100%.
Definitely. Yeah, you don't want the average Joe Schmo in there. You want top of the line A grade, and obviously they got you. So well, there you go. There you go. I think if any casting directors are listening right now, you gotta get this guy on.
Oh yeah.
I've gotten to the point you know, in my acting career where I go into a room and a lot of times I know these casting directors firsthand and become friends with them. And you know, I never hold any ill will towards a casting director for not choosing me. I'm always thankful for the opportunity to get in there and fight for those opportunities as well. And I just try to make sure that when I get into these rooms to audition that I'm prepared.
Yeah.
I think that shows a level of commitment for an actor to go into an audition room and not be prepared. You're not just wasting your own time, but you're wasting the time of that casting director. And also you got to remember that casting directors have to decide who they're going to bring in for these auditions. So you've just taken away an opportunity for another actor who would have come in prepared by not being prepared yourself. And you know, that is really important to understand. Anybody who's aspiring to be an actor is take it serious and be a pro and be professional and put in the time, because if you don't put in the time and the effort, you can pretty much guarantee yourself a lot more failures than successes for sure.
Well, with that little bit of motivation, thank you so much for getting on, Al. This has been a pleasure.
Oh man,
I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you guys.
We've taken up enough of your time, and
it's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
If people want to check you out,
anytime you want to chat, let me know.
100%. Oh yeah, we got to do this again, man.
But if anyone wants to check you out and follow you, where can they find you?
On social media, I've been fortunately I was able to get all of the names for it. But on Instagram, you can find me at Al Coronel, on Facebook at Al Coronel, and on Twitter at Al Coronel.
Woo. Well, there you go. You know where to find them. Make sure to find them. Follow them. Give them a couple of likes. And
for sure.
Thank you so much, everyone who listened. Thank you as well, and have a great day.
All right, guys.
Good luck.